Hey, what's up guys? Sam from Cubi Studios here. It's a little bit of a gloomy day outside, but I'm finally going to do my most requested video on the YouTube channel and all of the comments on all of my videos. A lot of you guys have requested this, so finally I'm going to go over my Spellcaster deck recipe, which I really like the deck, and apparently a lot of you like it too, or maybe you just want to use it or improve on it in your own way. I've been thinking for a while on how to actually do this video, and I kind of got a decent idea because I thought it'd be boring to just go, okay, here's a list of all the cards in the deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each card. I'm going to say, okay, this is the card you need, but then I'll also like give a short description of like how it works in the deck and other things, if there's a way to justify it or if I just have it because I like it. So let's take a look. Grab my controller here. First card is Burden of the Mighty. Burden of the Mighty is just an effective spell card, and this is a spell heavy deck because it's a Spellcaster deck, and a lot of the monsters need that like spell counters just from spells being played, so it's a good fit. Card Trader. This is kind of personal preference. I have this in my deck over like Graceful Charity or Pot of Duality because I don't like discarding cards to the graveyard with Graceful Charity, and I don't like not being able to special summon with Pot of Duality. Plus Card Trader, you can use like multiple turns, and it's a good like continuous spell, just like Burden of the Mighty for Mage Power, which is a little bit later on. Next, Gold Sarcophagus. I mean, this is like almost a staple card. Like, hey, I need this in my deck because I need to get out whatever card it is I want. I typically use it for Marshmelon because that's who I am, but I mean, you can use it for other things. Mage Power, because I wanted an equipped card in this deck, and there are lots of obviously magic and trap cards in this deck, so Mage Power can make one monster really powerful really fast, and it's especially useful if you put it on a weaker monster, then you can just get a strong one out fast instead of like waiting. Magic Formula is because both Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl are in this deck, and they're both relatively easy to get out. Plus, if it gets destroyed, if it's on the field or something, you get 1,000 life points, freebie. Magical Blast is used with my Spellcaster decks, or my Spellcaster cards, because you can pull it back from the graveyard after you've used it, or if you've discarded it or whatever. Like, no matter what, if it's in the graveyard, you can get it back. So those cards that need spell counters, you can always be getting another spell card real fast. And if you just need a spell, you can get it back, and it does a little bit of damage, so that helps. The field card, Magical Citadel of Endymion, I believe is how you say it. This works really well with all of the cards in the deck that need a spell counter because it stacks spell counters, and you can pull spell counters from this field card to use the monster's effects. So super useful. Also with the Master Magician card, which we'll go over later, you can use this field card to special summon him, and that's pretty easy. Magical Dimension next. Again, this is just an easy way to special summon some of the more powerful monsters in the deck and get a free like destruction of another monster on the field that's not yours, obviously, or maybe yours if you like rework the deck in some way. But it's a nice way to just destroy something that couldn't be destroyed by battle or whatever, because you kind of need one of those cards in every deck, obviously, because if you're going up against me, I've got Marshmelon. And yeah, I think it's just really useful in this deck. We have Marshmelon Glasses. Obviously I use Marshmelon Glasses because I have Marshmelon. This is kind of one of those things where, like I said earlier, if you want to improve on the deck, or you just want to make it strictly Spellcaster, you can probably pull this out and Marshmelon, but I have it in here because I do have Marshmelon, and it's another spell card for the deck. Polymerization, self-explanatory. I will go over later, but I have Dark Magician and Buster Blader in the deck, so you need this to fuse them. Regeki, self-explanatory, another spell card for the deck, and it destroys all of your opponent's monsters. Ridiculously OP, so kind of just want it. Sage's Stone. Now this is useful for the Spellcaster portion of the deck because you have Dark Magician Girl out, who's really easy to get out in the field. You can get a free Dark Magician from anywhere in your deck, who's obviously one of the token monsters of this deck because it's a Spellcaster, right? So you kind of just want that. Now I have 3 Spell Power Grasps. I like the Spell Power Grasp because once you use one, typically it'll get you 2 or 3 spell counters every time you use it, because you've got the field card, it's going to add one to that, and any monster that you have that like just gets one for a spell card being activated, they're going to get one, and then whoever you place the card on is also going to get a spell counter. So that's awesome. And then on top of that, you'll be able to just draw one of your other Spell Power Grasp cards up to like the 3 you have in your deck, so it doesn't really mess with your draw phase at all. Once you get it, you're going to clear them out of your deck real fast. Eye of Timaeus. I'm just kind of going over these like as it goes. I wasn't really sure how else to do this video, so I hope you guys like this so far. Either way, probably at the end of the video, I'll just post like a list of the deck anyway. Eye of Timaeus lets you get some of the fancy fusion monsters out for Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. And I have both of those in the fusion deck, and that's really the only purpose of that card. And it's another spell to get discarded. Dark Bribe, because it's a nice quick counter to any like spell or trap that your opponent uses. So, I mean, that's kind of like a staple card, not really specific to this deck. Magician's Circle is awesome because obviously most of your monsters in this deck are going to be Spellcaster. So you're going to be able to pull out, like, with 2,000 or less attack, you'll be able to get out like Dark Magician Girl or the Magician Puppet thing. I forget what he's called right now, but whatever. It's going to be really useful for you, and chances are your opponent might not even have a Spellcaster in their deck, so that's just a free summon for you. It does say that they could get one, but chances are they won't. I have 2 Mirror Forces in this deck. This number can vary. You can put 3 in, you can put 2, you can put 1. I just have 2 because that's like, I feel like fair enough. Mirror Force, again, staple card. You want this in your deck. Actually, I think you can only have 2 in your deck. I think it's limited. Either way. Pitch Black Power Stone is used in this deck because it's just free 3 spell counters on the field. They're both on the, they're on the field, or you can place them on your monsters. So it can kind of help either way, like a monster that might pull them from the field or that needs to be set on. There you go. Here's a trap card to do it too, in case you're like spell cards that get shut down or something. Dark Magician, as I've already stated, we get Sage Stone. You have Magician's Formula, and you have the Eye of Timaeus Fusion, and with fusion with Buster Blader. Dark Magician's a powerful monster. Typically in this deck, you're not summoning just him. You're going to be using him to get special summoned and get that extra firepower and all that good stuff. Apprentice Magician is probably one of my favorite cards in this deck, which like sounds weird to say, because it's a card later in the deck that I'll like explain how it works with. But the thing is, you summon it, you can get a free spell counter for anywhere. If it gets destroyed, you get to free summon 2-star or lower monster, and you can get it to set it face down. Which if you have like, I have a version of like a Spellcaster version of Maneater Bug basically in this deck, which I'll go over in a second. He's super useful for that. Again, he can be used as like a wall or a tribute, or to get those extra monsters out, so you can have like 2 monsters via him or something like that. Super useful, all that good stuff. Blackluster Soldier, Envoy. Yeah, I wanted to say Envy for a second, but there's totally an O in there, and I know how to read. Anyway, Envoy of the Beginning. He's just a super powerful monster, and it's nice because you can just special summon him, because you have both the dark and the light monsters in this deck. Really, there's no other way to like explain this. He's really good. If you have dark and light monsters in your deck, throw him in there, because you can just special summon him. Blast Magician is one of the monsters we're finally getting into that use the spell counters in this deck. You can destroy some monsters with his effect, which is really useful. He has a decent attack, decent defense for just a regular summoned monster, and he works well with the formula of the deck. Again, with those spell counters, you can get some really like cheap, like high kills just for using him. Or if you use like just 1 spell or 2, you can get some out of the early game monsters out really quickly, which is awesome. Breaker the Magical Warrior. I would almost say he's like a staple card as well. He's really good in almost any deck, not just my Spellcaster deck, because he's got a solid starting attack at 1900 when he's normal summoned, and then you can use that spell counter to just destroy any magic and trap card in the field that you choose. And then again, with all the spell counters you're getting in this deck, you can be constantly abusing that to just wipe your opponent's spell and trap cards out. So he's super useful, and another spell caster in the deck. Buster Blader is pretty much only in this deck because, as I'll show later, I have White Magician and I have Dark Paladin Fusion card. So he's really good at like just kind of being either a free special summon or in the fusion. You're typically not going to summon him just regularly. Chaos Sorcerer is another example of what I talked about with Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. He's kind of like a free special summon if you have dark and light monsters in your deck. He's a spellcaster, so he works well with the other cards in the deck, so I can still use that spellcaster kind of thing to get him out, or like work well with him. And then you can get a free banish on another monster, so he's similar to Blackluster Soldier, slightly weaker, but he's also spellcaster, so he fits in the deck. He's pretty powerful, and he's not going to take up any like regular summoning on your side. So like if you need to get somebody out, he's a good substitute for Blackluster Soldier if you haven't drawn him yet. Dark Magician Girl, I mean, it's self-explanatory. She's an awesome card, one of the mascots of the show, all that good stuff. She has a solid attack. If your Dark Magician's already fallen, she gets another 300 attack. As you guys know, simple, basic stuff. She works well with Sage Stone, Magic Formula, and the Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight fusion card from Aya Tamais. So she's got a lot of uses in this deck, aside from also being able to get her out from Magician's Circle Trap card, because she's only at that 2,000 attack. This is probably my favorite card in the deck, other than Marshmallow, Dark Red Enchanter. He can get really scary really fast. Again, with Magic Circle, he can come out on the field really easy, even though you won't get the 2 counters right away for special summoning him. But he's still really powerful, and with all the spell cards like adding to his attack each turn, he can get really fucking scary really fast. So he's definitely one of the powerhouses of this deck. Next is Defender the Magical Knight, who again is really clutch for like saving some of your monsters, or like especially if you have like the field card out with a lot of spell counters on there, you can almost assume like, okay, now my monsters just aren't gonna die. Like if there's a Mirror Force, you can just discard spell counters, which this deck is dependent on anyway, and you can like save your entire side of the field, which is awesome. Defender the Magical Knight is a clutch for like saving, and he's a really good wall. Edmion, I believe is how you say it, the Master Magician. Again, this is what the field card's based on him, kind of, I assume, or something like that. He's a really powerful card. Again, with all the spell cards in the deck, and with especially Magician's Blast, which you can keep getting back, he has an effect where if you discard a spell, you can just destroy any card you choose. So he's really powerful, got a high attack, he's got that good effect, and especially with Magician's Blast, you can just keep abusing his effect every turn, like, okay, I'm going to destroy something, and then probably destroy it via attack too, because he's got such a high attack. Really good in combination with a lot of spell cards. Hannibal Necromancer is kind of the same thing as Blast Magician. I almost think they're like interchangeable, except his defense is a little bit better. And instead of destroying monster cards, he can get you some free trap card destruction. So if there's any continuous trap cards, like making your day hell, you can kind of use him to like end that. So that's really what he's used for. Typically, I think I use him mostly as like a defensive wall, though. Magical Exemplar is another thing with if you have a lot of spell counters already on the field. She's kind of like a win more monster. You get her out in the field, you can use 2 spell counters, or you get 2 spell counters per spell, and then you can use her to like special summon any monster you really want that doesn't like say in the description, hey, you can't do that. So she's really effective, and getting out some of your higher end monsters and all that kind of good stuff. She can be scary, especially because she has a decent attack too for a regular summon monster. Next we have Magical Marionette. This is the puppet monster I was talking about. You can get him out with Magician's Circle as well. So Magician's Circle, again, has a lot of monsters that you can work with in this deck. Magical Marionette, he's got the effect where every 2 counters you can just destroy a monster on the field. Plus he's also got that same thing like Dark Red Enchanter. He starts to get scary fast with a lot of spells on the field, because he gets an extra 200 attack too. So he can be a powerhouse on offense, or you can just use him to pick off like individual monsters to start getting direct attacks and stuff like that. Especially if you have a bunch of spell counters on the field already, you can just like tear through your opponent's field, which is awesome. Magical Plant Madrigala, I believe is how you say that. I don't know. You can see the card here. Flipping it, if it's face down, which is typically the only way you're going to play it, you'll get a free spell counter for anywhere on the field. Plus, it can be used with Apprentice Magician's Effect. So that's where this kind of card comes in the clutches, because again, spell counter, or you have Apprentice Magician's Effect. So you want to have overlapping cards that can be used with other effects, all that good synergy in the Spellcaster deck that I like to emphasize, and that's why I think it's so good. It's because a lot of the cards work together. I'm sure a lot of people don't think this deck's good, but I mean, a lot of people want to see it, so here's me answering your call. Magician's Valkyria, just because she's a solid attack and defense monster, she's a free summon, another Spellcaster. Plus, once you kind of get later in the game, or you have a lot of Spellcasters on the field, this can save some of your more important spellcasters for you to get them more powerful. Like if Dark Red Enchanter needs another turn for you to play another spell or something, they can't attack your other spellcasters with her on the field. So again, she can take a hit for one of your monsters, can do some decent amount of damage, that kind of stuff. She's really good. Then this goes without saying, Marshmallow is the best card in the game. I'm putting it in every deck. He's amazing. There you go. Mythical Beast Cerberus. Another one of those monsters that he can kind of get scary fast, but at the same time in the next turn he's already like not scary again. Every spell counter that's on him, he gets 500 attack, but if he attacks, they go away. So you kind of have to use him wisely on like a one attack. All right, this is going to be a sweet attack. Do the damage, and then like sacrifice him for something. That's kind of how I use him, or like I try to use him. But again, he's another card that uses spell counters, so he's good. He's a good fit for this deck. Nope, skipped. Old Vindictive Magician. This is the card I was talking about earlier that's like the Spellcaster version of Maneater Bug. You flip it, you destroy a monster on the field. Awesome, basic kind of stuff here. Again, with Apprentice Magician, this is typically the monster you're using Apprentice Magician for. So Apprentice Magician dies, you get to set Old Vindictive Magician, and chances are they either have to end their battle phase or lose a monster to attack Old Vindictive Magician, like, in that turn. So really useful, kind of some bullshit, but I like her a lot. Royal Magical Library, this is probably one of those cards that's like iffier to have in your deck. Mostly you can really only use it as a wall, and if you have a lot of spell counters, you can use it to draw some extra cards if you're like in a pinch and you really need something. But chances are you're not wasting your spell counters on this, and you're typically just kind of using it as a wall, but a wall that can use your spell counters if times get desperate and you really need some other stuff. Skilled Dark Magician is going to be one of the ways, again, that you're special summoning Dark Magician. He's got like the 3 spell counters on him, and then boom, you can instantly summon Dark Magician. And this can happen really fast. You play 1 spell Power Grasp on him, and he's already got 2 spell counters, and then you're almost set to go. And you play another spell Power Grasp next turn and another card, and then he's got 3 Dark Magicians out. Easy enough. He's got a really good attack and defense too for like a free basic summon monster. I really like him, and works well with Dark Magician. Skilled White Magician is almost the exact same thing as Skilled Dark Magician, except now you can get Buster Blader out for free. Basically, everything I said to Skilled Dark Magician applies to Skilled White Magician. And that's why he's in this deck too. Alright, now onto the extra deck, which is kind of a little bit more iffy. Amulet Dragon. This is the fusion card we're talking about for the Eye of Timaeus and Dark Magician. You can kind of be iffy on even needing this in your deck in the first place, but I chose it because I think it's really cool. It's a pretty powerful monster, and then like it says, you can use it to where if it gets destroyed, you can pull back Dark Magician from the graveyard and have a cutesy little more another monster in place of him, or you can like banish all of your cards, or all of your spell cards, excuse me, to give him a much needed attack boost. I shouldn't say much needed, but the attack boost that will really make him pretty dangerous, especially if it's later in the game and you already have a shit ton of spell counters or spells in the graveyard because you're using all those spell cards. Next, Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight. This one is of the 2 Eye of Timaeus fusions, the much better one, I think. You use this with Dark Magician Girl, and then her effect is if you discard a card, you can destroy a card on the field. That's super worth, and it's kind of really dangerous in early game or anything like that, where if you can just use her effect, you can kind of get rid of anything dangerous or scary really fast. And all you're doing is discarding a card. You're not really getting rid of anything on the field. And there are a lot of cards in this deck that you can just freely discard and not worry about. And then Dark Paladin I have in here just because, again, we have the Skilled Dark Magician, Skilled White Magician, and then Dark Magician Buster Blader. So I like that synergy because I have all of those cards in this deck. Dark Paladin seems like a pretty good fit. Plus, if you discard spells, you can negate something activating, which I have a shit ton of spells in this deck, so that works really well. And that's a pretty good effect for this kind of deck, especially the way it's built. And Dark Paladin's just a cool monster, so no reason not to have him. And now for the XYZ monsters in this deck, a lot of them I just kind of threw in here because I don't have many XYZ monsters. You can use this. I mean, these are basically all interchangeable, but I have Battlecruiser, Delanthius. I don't think I've ever actually used this, but again, whenever you're making a deck, this is something I learned from you guys in the comments, and I think it's a very valid point. Anytime you can just fill in the gap of like your XYZ deck, do it. Like 3 level 3 monsters. Chances are you won't get it, but this is one of the only XYZ cards I have, so I just kind of threw this one in there. Again, this Carthorian, the Anti-Luminescent Knight. Probably I've never used this either, but again, this will probably change as I play the game and I get more XYZ monsters. Again, I would advise that you use more XYZ monsters that fit you. If you have different ones, you can use different ones than what I have in here. Except Castle the Skyblade Musketeer, Skyblaster Musketeer is actually really useful. I learned, again, he's another one of the comments that I was told to put in this deck. You can like use his effects pretty efficiently and like, hey, I'm just discarding this and I'm gonna like return some of your monsters, or if it's a sacrificed, super useful. 3 level 7. This is because of some of the higher level spells or spellcasters in this deck. He's totally possible to get out, but it's up to you whether or not you think it's even worth to have. I just have him in this deck because it's possible to get him. And then Gem Knight Pearl is a standard XYZ that's pretty powerful. I mean, you can use him in a pinch, whatever. He doesn't really have an effect, but he's got a decent attack. 2 level 6 spellcasters. This is one of the few that's like actually specific to this deck. You can get him out. He's pretty easy to get out if you want. And he has a pretty good effect where you can detach a thing and then just stop an XYZ or a spell or trap card from being activated. So not bad. And next we have this number 20. I mean, again, I just need an XYZ card. This is interchangeable, not really essential to the deck. And then the last ones are Utopia, because Utopia is a pretty solid XYZ monster, and I have 3 of them, so I put them in here. That's all I really got for the XYZ section of the deck, and as I play through the game, I'll be able to maybe update you guys on, hey, I got better XYZ monsters in the deck. But feel free to change this up however you feel like. That's it, you guys. That's the last card in the deck, and that's that, I guess. A lot of you guys requested me to go over the spell recipe, and I finally figured out a cool way to do that and kind of discuss the cards with you guys. All that kind of good stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this, or if you want to see other decks that I've used and recipes and all that stuff, comment, or if there's any kind of video at all you want to see from me, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your feedback, and I always like to try and answer those kinds of feedback, or something like this. So again, hope you guys enjoyed, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you around.